An external microphone. An external microphone. ठीक है, आई थिंक वी आर लाइव गाइज. एक बार कमेंट्स में बता दो इफ यू कैन सी अस एंड हियर अस. वानी एक बार कुछ बोलना.
Hi, Vaibhav.
हाय वानी. ए जीएस इज हैप्पी टू सी अस टुगेदर. तो
Yeah.
कैसे हो? लॉन्ग टाइम. हाउ इज लाइफ पोस्ट राजस्थान रॉयल्स का लॉस?
It's still the same for me. How is life for you?
It is not the same for me. Everything has changed. Just like जो आज हम शॉर्ट स्टोरी पढ़ेंगे उसमें जैसे सब चेंज होता है वैसा ही कुछ आज होने वाला है.
Yeah.
So Jibin is here, Saksham is here, Shantanu is here. Amir Sajid
Yeah.
is very excited to see you. I think Amir ने
Okay.
हमें एक एंट्री भी भेजी थी, like for the episode, like
I think so.
yeah.
Yeah.
So पहले इधर उधर की बातें करनी है, दिलजीत की बात करनी है या did you see what he did today?
Yeah, I am not sure. I was following and बहुत सारी posts were coming उसके बारे में, so I was confused what's happening.
Do you understand पंजाबी? ऐसे मतलब टेक्स्ट में रिटन जो उसने आज कॉम्प्लेक्स से लिखी है, बिकॉज आज बहुत लोग क्रैश कोर्स ले रहे हैं पंजाबी में.
A little. You're Punjabi, no? Little
या
known fact.
या
Yeah.
सो चालू करते हैं. और कौन कौन आया है? या छाया नाइक इज हियर. तो गाइस चालू करते हैं. वील बी रीडिंग दिस टुडे. आई एम अ लिटिल. So every time I read something which I really like, I get very vulnerable because I'm like, shit, will people like this or not? Because I really liked it. मैं वानी को बोल रहा था पहले तो मैंने. It's a long short story. It's called Daughters of the Moon. I have maybe highlighted 70% of it. So,
Yeah.
but I don't know if you guys will like it. But I want to give it a shot. And हम इटालो कैल्विनो की बहुत टाइम बाद एक शॉर्ट स्टोरी पढ़ रहे हैं. इसको ढूंढने के चक्कर में मैंने आज 3 शॉर्ट स्टोरीज पढ़ ली. बट व्हेन आई रेड द फर्स्ट 4 पेजेस ऑफ इट आई न्यू दिस इज द वन. दिस इज व्हाट वील गो अहेड विद. एंड
Yeah.
व्हाई वर यू एक्साइटेड अबाउट लाइक रीडिंग समथिंग साई-फाई टुडे?
Because both times I was only doing like I don't
लिटरेचर
know.
लाइक प्रॉपर ऐसा.
Yeah.
ओके
So I was like sci-fi पढ़ा नहीं बहुत time से.
ओके. बट
So
दिस
I texted Tayyab and Tayyab I think was not feeling well.
क्या?
But ठीक
हाँ,
है.
शादियों में जाएगा तो यही होगा ना उसके साथ.
That's mean, but okay.
हाँ.
Yeah.
Amir is very happy that we got 10K followers. Thank you so much. हमने आज Instagram पे 10,000 का milestone हासिल किया है. So yeah. Tanmay is asking what are we reading. It's Cosmo Comics, the complete Cosmo Comics का edition. And I don't know man. मैं तो अभी से give up कर रहा हूँ. Because I liked it.
Why?
I liked it so much. I won't be able to. Oh, 50 people are here. I think I should get see. So, guys,
It's okay.
yeah, like,
You'll be great.
how I'm not worried if just people should feel that it is good. Like मेरे को मेरी नहीं पड़ी, मेरे को तो पता है मैं बहुत great हूँ. मेरे को ये है कि the Daughters of the Moon लोगों को पसंद है.
Yeah.
It's about this short stories about. हम इसको like हमारे ट्रेडिशनल तरीके से नहीं पढ़ेंगे. बट आई स्टिल टेल यू व्हाट इट इज़ अबाउट. हम इसके पहले 4 पेज पढ़ेंगे और अगर आप आगे का पढ़ना चाहते हो तो आप हमें बताना. और अगर आप चाहते हो इसके बाद हम दिलजीत कंगना की बातें करें हम वो भी कर सकते हैं. सो एवरी टाइम इटालो कैल्विनो स्टार्ट्स अ शॉर्ट स्टोरी, वो उसमें ना एक पैराग्राफ में बताता है कि इसके पीछे की साइंस या फिक्शन क्या है. इट कैन बी एक्यूरेट, इट कैन नॉट बी लाइक एक्यूरेट. बस वो बताता है कि हमारे जो यूनिवर्स के लॉज क्या है हम जिसमें जा रहे हैं. तो ए विनायक, congrats on 10K. Congrats to you too also man. You are like one of the most important parts of the team. और विनायक जिसको नहीं पता है, विनायक has been doing the graphic work, the cinematography work with us for the last few years. विनायक के साथ मैं पता नहीं कितने सालों से काम कर रहा हूँ. Great guy. Please tell the name of the book again. It's Cosmo Comics Complete Edition by Italo Calvino. वानी आपके सामने खुली हुई है?
Yeah. I have the ebook ready.
अच्छा ठीक है. तो आप लैपटॉप में पढ़ रहे हो ना वो? आप पहला पैरा पढ़ो.
The daughters of the moon, deprived as it is of a covering of air to act as a protective shield, the moon found itself exposed right from the start to a continual bombardment of meteorites and to the corrosive action of the sun's rays. According to Tom Gold of Cornell University, the rocks on the moon's surface were reduced to powder through constant attrition from meteorite particles. According to Gerard Cooper of the University of Chicago, the escape of gases from the moon's magma gave the planet a light, porous consistency like that of a pumice stone.
Okay, I'll take it from here. The moon is old, Q said. Q agreed, pitted with holes, worn out. Rolling around naked through the skies, I love this line. It gets worn down and loses its flesh like a bone that's been gnawed. This is not the first time that such a thing has happened. I remember moons were even older and more battered than this one. I've seen loads of moons, seen them born and running across the sky and dying out. One punctured by hail from shooting stars, another exploding from all its craters, and yet another oozing drops of topaz colored sweat that evaporated immediately, then being covered by greenish cloud before being reduced to a dried up spongy shell. What happens on Earth when a moon dies is not easy to describe. I'll try to do it by referring to the last instance I can remember. कमेंट्स आ रहे हैं दिलजीत की बातें कीजिए. तो गाइज वो सेकेंड हाफ में होगा जो भी दिलजीत के लिए आए. हमें कभी कभी पढ़ाई भी कर लेने दीजिए. I recently discovered this channel, got to know lots of new content. Listen to you always exercises my mind. Hey, nice. You guys deserve 1 million. Thank you so much. वैभव को पूछो टेनेट कैसी लगी, देखी नहीं मैंने. Guys, let's concentrate here, please. I can remember. So basically, the Q guy is going to tell us of the instance from past or the future where a moon had died on Earth. So I can remember following a lengthy period of evolution. One could say that the Earth had by then reached the point where we are now. In other words, it had entered the phase when cars wear out more quickly than soles of your shoes. Beings that were more or less human manufactured and brought and sold things. The city covered the continents with luminous color. These cities grew more or less in same places as now, however different the shape of the continents might have been. There was even a New York which in some way resembled the New York that is familiar to all of you but much newer. Or rather, more awash with new products, new toothbrushes, a New York with its own Manhattan that stretched out dense with skyscrapers gleaming like a nylon bristles of a brand new toothbrush. ये वर्ल्ड एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हैं जहाँ पे मून डाई किया था, ये अभी उसकी बात चल रही है. In this world where the object was instantly thrown away and substituted with another new and perfect replacement at the slightest sign of breakage or aging, at first dent or stain, there was just one false note. This is a perfect world where everything was perfect. कोई भी चीज़ में अगर फ्लॉ आता था तो उसको रिप्लेस कर देते थे. इस पूरे वर्ल्ड में सिर्फ एक दिक्कत थी, वो थी the moon. It wandered through the sky naked, corroded and grey, more and more alien to the world down here, a hangover from a way of being that was now incongruous. Ancient expressions like full moon, half moon, quarter moon continued to be used but were just figures of speech. How could you call full how can you call full that the shape that was all cracks and holes? So basically दिखाया the moon was the ugliest thing in this world and everything was perfect. लोगों को बस एक चीज़ खटकती थी, वो थी ये जो moon है वहाँ पे. And not to mention when it was waning moon, it was reduced to a kind of cheese crust that had been nibbled away and always disappeared before we expected it to. At the new moon, we wondered each time whether it would appear again. Did we hope it would just appear like that, and when it did reappear, looking more and more like a comb losing its teeth, we averted our eyes with a shudder. It was a depressing sight. We went around. It was a depressing sight. तो अगेन बेसिकली ये यूनिवर्स दिखाया है जहाँ पे मून बहुत सबसे सैड चीज़ है दुनिया की. हर चीज़ परफेक्ट है और लोग बड़ा सैड फील करते हैं देख के कि कैसी चीज़ है. अब मून की साइकिल्स भी चेंज हो गई है क्योंकि मून हैज़ लॉस्ट वेट, द साइकिल्स हैव चेंज्ड एंड ये सब हो गया है. So people are not happy with the sight of the moon. मतलब they feel very depressed when they see this imperfect thing when imperfect thing in the sky. आपको इमेजरी कैसी लग रही है?
I am following so far. I liked that one where he describes how a comb loses its teeth.
Yeah.
And everyone would look away from the moon.
Yeah. मतलब I'm not sure if we should read the whole thing. Basically मैं बताता हूँ इसमें होता क्या है. मतलब होता यही है कि लोग परफेक्ट लाइफ जी रहे हैं, बस ये एक अजीब सी चीज़ जब देखते हैं तो उनको ऐसे अच्छा नहीं लगता. एंड सडनली वी वुड सी इट एडवांसिंग. मतलब ऐसे उसको डिस्क्राइब भी ऐसे किया है, पेल इन द मिड्स ऑफ those dazzling lights, slow and sick, and we could not get it out of our heads that every new thing, each product we had just bought could become worn out, fade away, deteriorate, and we would lose our enthusiasm for running around, buying things, and working like mad. Something not without consequences for the success of industry and commerce. That was how we began to consider the problem of what to do with this counterproductive satellite. It did not serve any purpose. So लोगों को सबसे purposeless चीज़ लगती थी मून. And it was a wreck, no good to anyone anymore. As it lost weight, it started to incline its orbit towards Earth. It was dangerous apart from anything else, and nearer it got, the more it slowed down its course. We could no longer calculate its quarters. Even the calendar, the rhythm of the months, had been a mere convention. The moon went forward in fits and starts as though it were about to collapse. तो अगेन वो ये कि लोग बड़े परेशान हो गए कि क्या करें इस यूजलेस सी चीज़ का. एंड इट डजेंट serve any purpose, as the author has written. It's the most counterproductive satellite. कभी कभी मून बहुत नीचे आ जाता था. अगेन मेरे को ये इमेजरीज बहुत पसंद आती हैं इन जनरल लाइफ में. ऑन दीज नाइट्स ऑफ लो मून, पीपल ऑफ अ मोर अनस्टेबल टेम्परामेंट बिगैन टू डू वियर्ड थिंग्स. देयर वाज ऑलवेज अ स्लीप वॉकर teetering along the edges of a skyscraper with his arms outstretched towards the moon, or a werewolf starting to howl in the middle of Times Square, or a pyromaniac setting fire to the dock warehouses. By now, these were common occurrences which no longer attracted the usual crowd of rubbernecks. But when I saw a girl sitting completely naked on a bench in Central Park, I had to stop. This is where the story starts. और एक बार के लिए पॉज लेते हैं यहाँ पे. Hey, not a book fan though, just here to say congratulations for 10K. Thank you so much, Samraj. मेरे को आपसे बात करनी है, मेरे को याद है. I will get back to you. I remember I had promised you will talk. We will. Cosmo Comics by Talo Calvino. Thank you, Jubin. इमेजरी ठीक है, बट लूनर कैलेंडर खराब हो जाएगा, ईद का चांद. And how it impacts Earth. Views on James Headley Chase. Moon is ugliest and Amir Khan sings Gopiya Tare hai Chand hai Radha. Salman Khan is equals to Moon. तो पता नहीं यार, मतलब मैं तो ऐसी ट्रेलर दे रहा हूँ. मेरे को तो आई एम नॉट श्योर इफ वी शुड रीड इट. मेरे को मतलब ऐसे आई डोंट नो.
I'm actually interested in reading the story now.
या तो बेसिकली आगे जो है मेरे को इस पे आपका ओपिनियन भी जानना है एक्चुअली, बिकॉज
Yeah.
I want to know, there is this thing called lunar possession. I don't know, मतलब मैंने बहुत ऐसे पेंटिंग्स में देखा है और मेरे को ये चीज़ बहुत ज़्यादा पसंद है. when what you do is kind of influenced by a cosmic activity which is happening. It was there in this film Your Name, it was there in this film Coherence, and it was there in this film Melancholia. Melancholia में there is this image which also comes in this short story.
Yeah.
Have you seen the film Melancholia?
Yeah.
जिसमें जो स्पाइडरमैन वो
You recommended it
या
to me, yeah.
या तो मेलेंकोलिया में a woman is about to get married but like there is a planet coming to collide with earth और बहुत कॉस्मिक एलिमेंट्स चेंज हो रहे हैं. सो वो एक बार लेडी जाके एक लेक के पास जाके लेट जाती है. जब उसकी शादी की सारी तैयारी चल रही है, शी इज लाइंग डाउन देयर इन मतलब एज इफ शी इज स्पीकिंग टू द मून, शी इज लाइंग डाउन देयर कंप्लीटली नेकेड. अब ये चीज़ इसमें आती है. ही फाइंड्स अ वुमन लाइक एट द साइड ऑफ अ लेक कंप्लीटली नेकेड एज इफ she is connected to the moon. And ये वाली जो चीज़ होती है ना, मेरे को तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा ऐसे मतलब वो है कि योर डिसीजंस आर नॉट लाइक योर डिसीजंस आर अफेक्टेड बाय समथिंग कॉस्मिक. और ये वाली चीज़ मेरे को हमेशा बहुत फैसिनेट करती है. तो या आई डोंट नो मतलब
Shall we read?
या आप एक बार लीड
Yeah,
ले सकते हो if you want.
cool. Even before I saw her, I had had the feeling that something mysterious was about to happen. As I crossed Central Park at the wheel of my open top car, I felt myself bathed in a flickering light like that of a fluorescent tube emitting a series of livid, blinking flashes before it comes on fully. The view all around me was like that of a garden that had sunk into a lunar crater. Beside a pond reflecting a slice of moon sat the naked girl. I braked. For a second, I thought I recognized her. I ran out of the car towards her, then stopped as if stunned. I did not know who she was. I just felt that I had to do something for her urgently. Everything was scattered on the grass all around the bench. Her clothes, one stocking and shoe here and the others there, her earrings, necklace, bracelets, handbag and shopping bag with the contents emptied out in a wide arc, and countless packets and goods, almost as if on her way back from a lavish shopping spree in the city's shops, that creature had felt herself called and had instantly dropped everything to the ground, had realized that she had to free herself of every object or sign that held her bound to the Earth and was now waiting there to be assumed into the lunar sphere.
ये मेरे को बहुत पसंद आया था पैरा. या प्लीज.
What's happening? I stammered. Can I help you? Help? She asked, with her eyes still staring upwards. Nobody can help. Nobody can do anything. And it was clear that she was not talking about herself, but about the moon. We had the moon above us, a convex shape almost crushing us, like a ruined roof, studded with holes like a cheese grater. Just at that moment, the animals in the zoo began to growl. Is this the end? I asked mechanically, with no idea what I meant. She replied, It's the beginning. Or something like that. She spoke almost without opening her lips. What do you mean? It's the beginning of the end, or something else is beginning. She got up, walked across the grass. She had long copper-colored hair that came down over her shoulders. She was so vulnerable that I felt the need to protect her in some way, to shield her, and I moved my hands towards her as though to be ready to stop her from falling or to fend off anything that might harm her. But my hands did not dare even graze her, and always stopped a few centimeters from her skin. And as I followed her like this past the flower gardens, I realized that her movements were similar to mine, that she too was trying to protect something fragile, something that might fall and shatter into pieces, and that needed consequently to be led towards places where it could settle gently, something that she could not touch but could only guide with her gestures. The moon. The moon seemed lost,
ये कैसा
having
लग रहा है
abandoned
आपको
the
अभी
moon.
लाइक हाउ आर यू लाइकिंग.
I don't want to stop. I just want to read. but, I, but I
नाइस.
have to be mindful because we are on live stream and then
या मतलब
um,
बट लाइक आर यू एबल टू रीड एंड स्पीक टुगेदर.
yeah.
नाइस. आई एम वेरी
But
बैड
like
एट
I have to control my speed.
नाइस नाइस नाइस. गो ऑन. दिस इज फन. दिस इज फन.
The moon seemed lost, having abandoned the course of its orbit. It no longer knew where to go. It let itself be transported like a dried leaf. Sometimes it appeared to be plummeting towards the earth, at others corkscrewing in a spiral movement, at others still it just seemed to be drifting. It was losing height, that was certain. For a second it seemed as if it would crash into the Plaza Hotel. Instead, it slid into a corridor between two skyscrapers and disappeared from view towards Hudson. It reappeared shortly afterwards on the opposite side, popping out from behind a cloud, bathing Harlem and the East River in a chalky light, and as though caught by a gust of wind, it rolled towards the Bronx. There it is, I shouted. There, it stopped. It can't stop, exclaimed the girl, and she ran naked and barefoot over the grass. Where are you going? You can't wander around like that. Stop. Hey, I'm talking to you. What's your name? She shouted out a name like Diana or Diana, something that could also have been an invocation, and she disappeared. In order to follow her, I jumped back into my car and began to search the avenues of Central Park. The beams of my headlights lit up hedges, little hills, obelisks, but the girl Diana was nowhere to be seen. By now, I had gone too far. I must have gone past her. I turned round to go back the way I came. A voice behind me said, No, it's there. Keep going. Sitting behind me on the folded back hood of my car was the naked girl pointing towards the moon. I wanted to tell her to get down, that I could not travel across the city with her so prominently on view in that state, but I did not dare distract her. All intent as she was on not losing sight of the luminous glow that disappeared and reappeared at the end of the avenue. And in any case, and this was even stranger, no passerby seemed to notice this female apparition sitting on my open top car. We crossed one of the bridges that link Manhattan to the mainland. Now we were going along a multi-lane highway with other cars alongside us, and I kept my eyes fixed on the road ahead, fearing the laughter and crude comments that the sight of the two of us was no doubt prompting in the cars on either side. But when a salon car overtook us, I nearly went off the road in surprise. Crouched on its roof was a naked girl with her hair spread. For a second, I thought my passenger was leaping from one fast-moving car to another, but all I had that Diana's knees
आई थिंक
were still there at the same height as my nose.
वानी आपका नेट जा रहा है बीच बीच में आई थिंक आई कांट
Okay, do you want to read?
नहीं 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 आपका वो रीडिंग से आ रहा है बस आप नेट चेक कर लो एक बार
I am not sure.
हाँ
Is it better now?
या बेटर है वो यहाँ से वापस लो वो क्राउच्ड ऑन इट्स वाज ना
Yeah. But when a car overtook us, I nearly went off the road in surprise. Crouched on its roof was a naked girl with her hair spread out in the wind. For a second, I thought my passenger was leaping from one fast-moving car to another, but all I had to do was turn my eyes round ever so slightly to see that Diana's knees were still there at the same height as my nose. And it was not just her body that glowed before my eyes. I saw girls everywhere, stretched out in the strangest of poses, clinging to the radiators, doors, mudguards of the speeding cars. Their golden or dark hair was the only thing that contrasted with the pale or dark gleam of their naked skin. One of these mysterious female passengers was positioned on every car, all stretching forwards, urging the drivers to follow the moon. They had been summoned by the endangered moon. I was certain of that. How many of them were there? More cars carrying lunar girls gathered at every crossroad and junction, converging from all quarters of the city on the place above which the moon seemed to have stopped. Reaching the outskirts, we found ourselves opposite an automobile scrapyard.
सो यहाँ एक पॉज लेते हैं आर यू फॉलोइंग एंड क्या लग रहा है लाइक जस्ट टू लाइक हियर योर थॉट्स कि हाउ मतलब क्या आपको लग रहा है अभी स्टोरी कैसी लग रही है
I like the story so far. I'm just excited what will happen next.
हाँ
How long is it?
it's मतलब we have just read 30% of it actually that's the oh no I think हमने कितनी पढ़ ली 1 2 3 4 5 oh we have read half of it dude
Really?
या वी हैव रेड हाफ ऑफ इट. और हाँ, मतलब खत्म कर सकते हैं हम. इट्स ओके अगर कम लोग देख रहे हैं तो, लेकिन चलो है 40-45 लोग, बट ठीक है. दिस इफ यू आर लाइकिंग इट देन लाइक वी शुड टोटली लाइक क्या कहते हैं, फिनिश दिस थिंग. हे 2-4 लोगों ने लिख दिया उन्हें पसंद आ रही है स्टोरी. ए मैन, इतनी वैलिडेशन.
Hey, Saptarshi is here.
ए संतोषी, हेलो फ्रॉम फ्रांस.
Flex कर रहा है Saptarshi.
नाइस.
Shall I continue? I can't wait.
प्लीज आई एम
आज मैं
सो,
पढ़ने की mood में हूँ, sorry.
आई एम सो हैप्पी.
Cool. So, the road petered out in a hilly area with little valleys, ridges, hills, and peaks. It was not the contours of the land that created the bumpiness, but rather the layers of things that had been thrown away. Everything that the consumerist city expelled once, it had quickly used it up so it could immediately enjoy the pleasure of handling new things, ended up in that unpreprocessing neighborhood. Over the course of many years, piles of battered fridges, yellowing issues of Life magazine, fused light bulbs had accumulated around an enormous junkyard for cars. It was over this jagged, rusty territory that the moon now loomed, and the swaths of beat up metal swelled up as if lifted by a high tide. They resembled each other. The moon and that crust of the earth that had been soldered into an amalgam of wreckage, the mountains of scrap metal, formed a chain that closed in on itself like an amphitheater, whose shape was precisely that of a volcanic crater or a lunar sea. The moon hung over this space, and it was as if the planet and its satellite were acting as mirror images of each other. Our car engines had all stopped. There is nothing that intimidates cars so much as their own symmetries. Diana got down, and all the other Dianas followed suit. But their energy now seemed to fade. They moved with uncertain steps, as though on finding themselves amidst those ruins of sharp scrap iron, they were suddenly seized by an awareness of being naked. Many of them folded their arms to cover their breasts, as if shivering with cold. Meanwhile, they scattered, climbing over the mountains of useless scrap. They went over the top and down into the amphitheater, and found themselves forming as it were a huge circle there in the middle. Then they all raised their arms up together. The moon gave a start as though that gesture of theirs had affected it, and it seemed for an instant to recover its energy and to climb again. The circle of girls stood with their arms raised and their faces and breasts turned towards the moon. Was that what the moon had asked of them? Did it need them to support itself in the sky? I did not have time to ask myself these questions. At that very moment, the crane entered the scene. The crane had been designed and built by the authorities, who had decided to cleanse the sky of such an inelegant encumbrance. It was a bulldozer from which a kind of crab's claw rose up. It came forward on its caterpillar treads, squat and stocky, just like a crab. And when it arrived at the place that had been prepared for the operation, it seemed to become even more squat, in order to cling to the earth with every part of itself. The winch spun quickly. The bulldozer raised its arm into the sky. Nobody had ever thought that a crane with such a long arm could be built. Its bucket opened, showing all its teeth. Now, more than a crab's claw, it resembled a shark's mouth. The moon was just there. It wavered as though it wanted to escape, but the crane seemed to be magnetized. We saw the moon being hovered up, as it were, and landing in its jaws. Its mandibles closed round it with a dry sound, crack. For a second, it seemed that the moon had turned into crumbs like a squashed meringue. But instead, it stayed inside the jaws of the bucket, half inside, half out. It had turned into an oblong shape, a kind of thick cigar held between the bucket's teeth.
We can do
Down
a
came,
representation of it.
yeah, it'll have to be a scar now, you'll have to crush it.
Yeah.
It had turned into an oblong shape, a kind of thick cigar held between the bucket's teeth. Down came a shower the color of ashes. The crane now tried to yank the moon out of its habit and drag it downwards. The winch had started to wind backwards. By this stage, it needed to make a huge effort. Diana and her friends had stayed motionless with their arms raised as though hoping to beat the enemy's aggression with the strength of their circle. It was only when the ash from the disintegrating moon rained down on their faces and breasts that we saw them disperse. Diana let out a sharp cry of lament. At that point, the imprisoned moon lost what little light it had left. It became a black, shapeless rock. It would have crashed down onto the earth had it not been held fast by the bucket's teeth. Down below, the contractor's men had prepared a metal net, fixing it to the ground with long nails, all around the area where the crane was slowly lowering its load. Once it was on the ground, the moon was a pockmarked, sandy boulder, so dull and opaque that it was incredible that previously it had illuminated the sky with its shining reflection. The crane opened the jaws of its bucket, went back on its caterpillar treads, and almost flipped over as it was suddenly lightened of its load. The contractor's men were ready with the net. They wrapped it round the moon, trapping it between the net and the ground. The moon tried to struggle in its straitjacket. A tremor like that of an earthquake caused avalanches of empty cans to slide down from the mountain of refuse. Then all was peaceful again. The now moonless sky was being drenched by bursts of light from the big lamps, but the darkness was already fading. Dawn found the car cemetery contained an extra wreck, the moon, that had been shipwrecked there in the middle, was almost indistinguishable from the other discarded objects. It was the same color, had the same condemned look, the same appearance as something you couldn't imagine ever being new. All around, a low murmuring resounded throughout the crater of terrestrial rubbish. The light of dawn revealed a swarm of living things slowly waking up. Bearded creatures were advancing amidst disemboweled lorry carcasses, the shattered wheels, the crumpled metal. In the midst of the things that had been thrown away lived a community of people who had also been thrown away or marginalized, or had thrown themselves away on their own volition, or who had got tired of running all over the city to sell and buy new things that were destined to go out of date immediately. People who had decided that only things that had been thrown away were the real riches of the world. Encircling the moon throughout the whole amphitheater, these lanky figures were standing upright or were seated, their faces framed by beards or unkempt hair. It was a tatterdemalion, I'm not sure what it means, bizarrely dressed crowd, and in their midst was the naked Diana and all the girls from the night before. They came forward and began to release the steel wires of the net from the nails that had been driven into the ground. Immediately, like an air balloon releasing from its moorings, the moon rose, hovering above the girls' heads, above the grandstand full of tramps, and stayed suspended, held back by the steel net whose wires Diana and her friends were operating, sometimes pulling them, sometimes letting go. And when they all started to run, still holding the ends of the wires, the moon followed. As soon as the moon moved, a kind of wave began to rise from the valleys of the wreckage. The old cars, crushed like accordions, started to march, creakily arranging themselves in a procession, and a stream of battered cans rolled along, making a noise like thunder. Though you couldn't tell whether they were dragging or being dragged along by everything else. Following this moon that had been saved from the scrap heap, all the things and all the people that had been resigned to be being chucked into a corner, started on the road again and swarmed towards the richest neighborhoods of the city. That morning, the city was celebrating Consumer Thanksgiving Day. This feast came around every year, one day in November, and had been set up to allow the shop's customers to display their gratitude towards the god production who tirelessly satisfied their every desire. The biggest departure store in town organized a parade each year. An enormous balloon in the shape of a garishly colored doll was paraded through the main street, held by ribbons which sequin clad girls pulled as they marched behind a musical band. So that morning, the procession was coming down Fifth Avenue. The majority twirled her baton in the air, the big drums banged, and the giant maid of balloons representing the satisfied customer flew amidst the skyscrapers, obediently following a leash held by girls in kepis, tassels, and fringed epaulets riding on spangly motorbikes.
Only 3 pages to go, guys. Like we have kind of done it. Like
Yay.
climax पे आ गए हैं हम story के.
At the same time, another parade was crossing Manhattan. The flaky, moldy moon was also processing, sailing between the skyscrapers pulled by the naked girls, and behind it came a line of beat up cars and skeleton of lorries, in the midst of a silent crowd gradually increasing in size. Thousands of people flocked to join the throng that had been following the moon from the early hours of the morning. People of all colors, whole families with children of every age, especially now that the procession was filing past the most crowded Black and Puerto Rican areas around Harlem. The lunar procession zigzagged up around uptown, started down Broadway, and came quickly and silently down that street to converge with the other procession, which was dragging its balloon giant along Fifth Avenue. At Madison Square, one procession met the other, or rather, it became just one single procession. The satisfied customer, perhaps because of a collision with the moon's jagged surface, turned into a rubber rag. On the motorbikes now were the Dianas pulling the moon with multicolored ribbons. Or more likely, since their number had at least doubled, the female motorcyclists had thrown away their uniforms and kits. A similar transformation had overtaken the motorbikes and the cars in the parade. You could no longer tell which were old and which were new. The twisted wheels, the rusty mud cars were mixed up with the bodywork as shiny as a mirror with paintwork gleaming like an emerald. And behind the parade, shop windows became covered with cobwebs and mold. Lifts in skyscrapers started to creak and groan. Posters with advertisements on them turned yellow. Egg holders in fridges filled with chicks, as if they were incubators. Televisions broadcast whirlwinds of atmospheric storms. The city had consumed itself at a stroke. It was a disposable city following the moon on its last voyage. To the sound of the band drumming on empty petrol cans, the procession arrived at the Brooklyn Bridge. Diana lifted up her Majorette's baton. Her friends twirled their ribbons in the air. The moon made a last dash, went over the curved grillwork of the bridge, tipped towards the sea, crashed into the water like a brick, and sank downwards, sending up thousands of little bubbles to the surface. Meanwhile, instead of letting the ribbons go, the girls had stayed attached to them, and the moon had lifted them up, sending them flying over the parapet of the bridge. In the air, they described arcs like divers and disappeared amidst the waves. We stood and stared. Some of us on the Brooklyn Bridge, others on the jetties on the shore, gazing in astonishment, caught between the urge to dive in after them and our confidence that we would see them reappear. We did not have long to wait. The sea began to vibrate with waves that spread out in a circle. At the center of the circle, there appeared an island which grew like a mountain, like a hemisphere, like a globe resting on the water, or rather raised just above it. No, like a new moon rising in the sky. I saw a moon, even though it did not resemble a moon any more than the one we had seen plunge into the depths a few moments before. However, this new moon had a very different way of being different. It emerged from the sea dripping a trail of green, glistening seaweed. Spouts of water gushed in fountains from fields that lent it the sheen of an emerald. A steamy vegetation covered it, but not with the plants. This covering seemed to be made of peacock feathers, full of eyes and shimmering colors. This Was the landscape that we just managed to glimpse before the sphere it covered swiftly receded into the sky, and the more minute details were lost in a general impression of freshness and lushness. It was dusk. The contrasts of the colors were fading into a vibrant chiaroscuro. Chiaroscuro. The lunar fields and woods were little more than contours, barely visible on the taut surface of the shining globe. But we were just in time to see some hammocks hanging from branches, rocked by the wind and nestling in them. I saw the girls who had led us to that place. I recognized Diana, at peace at last, fanning herself with a feather punka, penka, and perhaps sending me a signal of recognition. There they are, there she is, I shouted. We all shouted, and the happiness at having found them again was already fraught with the pain of having lost them now forever, because the moon rising in the dark sky sent out only the reflections of the sun on its lakes and fields. We were seized by a frenzy. We began to gallop across the continent, through the savannas and forests that had covered over the earth again and buried cities and roads, obliterating all trace of everything that had been. And we trumpeted, lifting up to the sky our trunks and our long, thin tusks, shaking the long hair of our crops, with a violent anguish that lays hold of all us young mammoths, when we realize that now is when life begins, and yet it is clear that what we desire shall never be ours.
We did it, guys. We did it. Let's clap for ourselves, Vani. हमने इतनी बड़ी, मेरे को कभी उम्मीद नहीं थी हम इतनी बड़ी स्टोरी पढ़ लेंगे ना. आपने लाइक यू रेड इट सो नाइसली. इतने लोग आपकी प्रोनाउंसिएशन की भी तारीफ कर रहे थे. Fuck, dude, this is amazing. We read like a 15-pager.
Oh,
this is nice. How did you like it?
I liked it a lot.
Dude,
and like when I was reading it, I made up my mind. I'm not going to shop until like, I don't know. I'm not going to, like, I'm going to consume less.
Consume less matlab?
So it was a story of how people wanted everything to be perfect. And in that process, they forgot, like they missed out on the essence of nature. Or
पर ये उसको कहाँ ले गया मेटाफर को यार, कहाँ ले गया?
I know.
मतलब this.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Atishay, for the super chat. And like someone from Canada also commented. I think that was Sirat. Glad found something good today. Hello from Canada. Tayyab was also there. And और भी कुछ बहुत लोगों ने तारीफ की the way you were reading of the story. And I'm so happy people like the story. This feels so nice. And
do you feel validated?
हाँ, for Italo Calvino I do. Like मतलब yeah man, matlab, oh man, because
that's good. I don't want to shop for anything ever again.
एक खीर पड़ी है, मैं इतनी देर से मेरे को ये ध्यान नहीं दिया था. मैंने सोचा था मैं ऐसे गप्पे मार रहे होंगे करेंगे.
I would eat it.
बट मेरे को करने हैं इसके बारे में डिस्कशन नाउ. अब ना थोड़ा पॉडकास्ट जोन में जाते हैं. लेट्स डू अ लाइक अ.
Are you going to put me on the spotlight? No.
Yeah, like it will be all about you, but these will be good questions, like not in the spotlight wale. Like what are the no-nos? Tell me what you don't want me to ask.
Just don't put me on the spotlight.
Okay, so let's putting you on the spotlight. Let's do it. मेरे को जो आपसे पहली चीज़ पूछनी थी, जो मेरे को लगा कि जैसे मैं सोच रहा था ना कि इफ अगर गर्ल्स पर्सपेक्टिव से देखो कि लाइक अगर कोई ऐसे देखे कि वो जो नेकेड वुमेन वाला पार्ट था कि इतनी सारी वो है, डिड इट बॉदर यू और लाइक आप मतलब वर यू लाइक.
I was wondering why did he pick up women alone? Like why did we not have, like, not that I want to see naked men in a story, like but like why it was women alone? I don't know.
बट ये मैंने पहले भी देखा है ओवर लाइक द आर्ट्स जैसे रहे हैं पहले भी पास्ट में जीवन में.
Yeah, you usually try to make women more sensitive.
हाँ, और
and more vulnerable
vulnerable और एक पोजीशन वाला जो एंगल है ना, जो मेरे को लगता है कि getting possessed by something which is not visible. Like
Yeah,
I couldn't help but think about the scene from the movie Burning, जो मैंने आपको कहा था प्लीज देखना, मुराकामी की बुक पे जो बेस्ड है. उसमें
yeah,
the most beautiful scene of the last 2 decades is there, where a woman just decides, you know what, I'm going to say fuck you to everything and I will dance. She takes off her top and everything, she dances naked. एंड वी सॉ इट इन मामी. एंड मैंने ये पहले भी एक बार स्ट्रीम में बोला था, मेरे घर पे तभी ऐसे एक फिल्म मेकर रुका हुआ था एंड आई वाज लाइक, डिड यू सी दैट सीन फ्रॉम बर्निंग? आई थिंक दैट वाज द बेस्ट सीन आई हैव सीन इन मामी. ही वाज लाइक, दैट वाज द बेस्ट सीन ऑफ द डेकेड. एंड नाउ आई स्टिल थिंक अबाउट दैट सीन बिकॉज अ
yeah.
वुमन इन पोजेशन ऑफ समथिंग विच यू कैन नॉट एक्सप्लेन. सो मेरे को
True.
ये बहुत सही लगा. और इज इट अ बैड टेक ऑफ मैन राइटिंग वुमेन? मेरा ये क्वेश्चन था.
I don't think it's a bad take of men writing women. But if you actually see like Aaj, that ways you can question a lot of things.
हाँ,
How
it was,
literature
by the
has
way,
been
it was
written.
written in 1968.
Yeah, exactly. But I wasn't bothered. I think perhaps why there's a beautiful documentary by Scoop Whoop as well on it. Like वो बिहार में कोई मेला होता है where like you know like people say हिंदी में बोलते हैं माता चढ़ गई and everything. So like the families bring their daughters, wives, etc. to this festival. And I think I'm forgetting her name. The woman that we invited from News Laundry,
Yeah, Manisha Pandey.
Manisha, she was the one who covered it, and it's such a beautiful documentary of why women get. But वो बहुत ज़्यादा like scientific and social reason हो जाएगा. But then again, this was such a beautiful imagery of
Yeah,
women trying to take care of it. It's like the motherhood or
yeah,
like that
yeah.
aspect was brought out in some way. Like imagine a woman forgetting everything, tossing around. Like when you go shopping and you've shopped something, I don't know how many of people are like shopaholics here. I'm one of them. Like when you buy something, when you buy a new jacket, you just love it.
Yeah,
You love the fur or you love the texture and you love the smell. Now imagine tossing that around in a
yeah.
park. You don't even like I like initially when I started reading it, I felt bad. I was like, fuck, what if somebody else picks that up? And I was expecting kuch hoga because that's how my stupid and shallow brain is. And then she's tossed everything and she's running behind the
Yeah.
moon to take care of it, to ensure that it stays safe.
Yeah.
And yeah.
ये वाला अगर जो आपने लाइन बोली वो वाला पैरा अगर हम वापस पढ़ सके, कि जो क्रीचर वाला था, लाइक बिकॉज दैट रियली स्टेड विद मी.
Yes. Everything was scattered.
हाँ,
No, wait.
everything
Yeah.
was scattered on the आप ही पढ़ो यार, like you are doing a very nice job right now, please please.
This. Oh, wait. I'll read. Yeah. I did not know who she was. I just felt that I had to do something for her urgently. Everything was scattered on the grass all round the bench. Her clothes, one stocking and shoe here and the others there. Her earrings, necklace, and bracelets, handbag and shopping bag with contents emptied out in a wide arc, and countless packets and goods, almost as if on her way back from a lavish shopping spree in the city's shops. That creature had felt herself called and had instantly dropped everything to the ground, had realized that she had to free herself of every object or sign that held her bound to the earth, and was now waiting there to be assumed into the
Oh
lunar
my
sphere.
god, dude.
Yeah, imagine, just imagine.
आपने कुछ शेयर किया था, आई थिंक आपने ट्विटर पे कुछ लाइक किया था, मेरी फीड में आया था. एंड लाइक दिस
Yeah,
रिमाइंड्स मी ऑफ दैट. समटाइम्स that one line makes the book worth it, something on
yeah,
those
something
grounds.
like that. Yeah,
कुछ आपने ऐसा लाइक किया था and I was like this is so true. मतलब इसमें तो बहुत सारी चीजें हैं बट लाइक दिस, ये वाले,
yeah.
क्योंकि
But this,
आई लव जैसे उसने
this,
क्रीचर लिखा है. आई रियली
yeah.
लाइक कि मतलब he did not write it as a
He
she.
no longer wants to
Yeah,
call her human.
yeah. So that creature had felt herself called and had instantly dropped everything to the ground, had realized that she had to free herself of every object or sign that held her bound to the earth and was now waiting to be assumed into the lunar sphere. If there are any people जिन्होंने burning देखी है, क्या आपको burning का भी वो scene याद आ रहा है मेरे को बताना, because
Shibin has commented the scene in Burning is very beautiful.
yeah, it's me का एक comment आया है. What's your take on that?
Yeah, sometimes it is. I wouldn't deny, but like here, I
Here
don't
है ना,
think.
यहाँ पे कुछ खटका नहीं ना,
Yeah.
मैं वही पूछ रहा हूँ, मतलब
Yeah, like it depends how you write, and I think it was very. It wasn't offensive at all.
yeah, मेरे
Like
को हाँ,
when people start objectifying women, that's something else.
तो मेरे को बस वही था कि एक तो वो कि जब वो देखता है कि so many women, naked women are there who are like doing this, मतलब आई वॉज टोटली बाइंग ऑल ऑफ इट. लाइक मेरे को कभी भी कुछ नहीं लगा. बुलडोजर भी आ रहा है जो मतलब उससे पकड़ा हुआ है अपने मैग्नेट से मून को. आई वॉज बाइंग इट. आई ऑल्सो बॉट इन द परेड. आई बॉट एवरीथिंग, बट आई जस्ट फेल्ट इटालो कैल्विनो मैंने जितना देखा वो एक चीज पकड़ता है फिर उस पर खेलता है. यहाँ स्केल बड़ा होता गया, स्केल बड़ा होता गया, एंड आई हैड नो प्रॉब्लम विद इट.
Yeah, if women were wearing clothes, then it would still bind them to the earth, and the whole point was that they want to leave everything with the moon.
Yeah.
And okay, I'm sorry, I'm bringing you back again on this paragraph.
Yes, this paragraph is amazing, dude.
He writes this, okay? It's the very first line, and he says he writes all these things: her clothes, stocking, shoes, one stocking, one shoe is here, and the other is there. He also takes off her earring. Earring is like the last thing, and necklace and bracelets, handbag and shopping bag. All the contents emptied out in a wide arc. Now imagine this arc, and then imagine the woman creating it.
Oh my god, dude.
I don't know. I was sold here. I was like, shit, I just want to read. This is not an awkward pause. We are just admiring.
Sorry.
Like usually it's like awkward, but like right now we're trying to admire the writing.
Like yeah, and this story had everything. I might get a little senti here because now I know that people liked it. Then मेरे को मैं कभी से मेरे को लगता है सिर्फ तैयब के सामने मैं ऐसे खुल के बता पाता हूँ कि कॉस्मोस से रिलेटेड चीज़ें मेरे को कितना अफेक्ट करती हैं. Okay, I might get senti, but this story had every element that I would want as a creator to put in my art. It had every element जो मैं सोचता हूँ कि फक कल को अपन कुछ मूवी बनाएंगे या कुछ लिखेंगे. एक तो मैंने इसकी अभी 10 स्टोरीज पढ़ी हैं जिनमें से 5 में मून टाइटल में है. डॉटर्स ऑफ मून, द सॉफ्ट मून, द डिस्टेंस फ्रॉम अ मून, द मशरूम मून. एंड आई मून से मेरा खुद का इतना लगाव है. In the sense, sometimes I think why I like certain movies. अब मैं Ad Astra सोचता हूँ. I never find people to talk to about it, but it's always the imagery जो उसमें मैं देखता हूँ. And cosmos element done right. Again, the most important thing is it has to be done right. It cannot be done wrong. मतलब ये नहीं तुमने मेरे लिए मून ला के रख दिया और ऐसे कि प्लूटो हो गया, नेपट्यून हो गया. It has to be done right. And in this story, it was. I am kind of proud of myself that I said no to a story to pick up this story today. Because I was also reading the Mushroom Moon. Mushroom was about how suddenly continents started getting made on planet Earth. पहले सिर्फ पानी होता था क्या कहते हैं अर्थ पे और लोग ऐसे ही अपने कैनोपीज वगैरह में होते थे, बट सडनली अब कॉन्टिनेंट्स बढ़ रहे हैं. बट दिस वाज द व्हेन आई रेड 2 pages. एक तो जो मून की इमेजरी भी थी यार, लाइक द आप किसी की इंसल्ट कैसे करते हो यार. मतलब देयर इज दिस पैरा ऑन पेज नंबर 3 अबाउट द मून. इट डिड नॉट सर्व एनी पर्पस. मतलब द मोस्ट ब्यूटिफुल थिंग जिसकी हम करवा चौथ पे वो करते हैं लाइक मतलब उसकी ऐसे लेना, लाइक इट I was like, this is gorgeous, this is perfect. मेरे दिमाग में ब्लेड रनर 2049 का एम्बियंस चल रहा है where everything is perfect but nothing is real. Nothing is real, and you are longing for that one imperfect thing in your life, and you motherfucking kill it too. आपने उसको भी मार दिया जो एक अकेली ढंग की चीज़ थी आपकी लाइफ में. एंड मतलब मेरे को लग रहा था कि ठीक है क्रेन व्रेन ले आए, बट ऑब्वियसली दे आर नॉट गोइंग टू किल द मून. बट दे किल्ड द मून, दे फकिंग किल्ड द मून, एंड आई वाज लाइक होली शिट. और उसने उसको ऐसे भी दिखाया कि आधा मून अंदर है आधा मून बाहर है. dude, this had everything I want in a story. And and like how you said, the mother element, the title is
Yeah.
also the daughters of the moon, so it can be like anything, right? Like it.
I'm so happy.
This was such a fulfilling read कि मेरे को लगता है this is the
Yeah,
reason.
this is making like I want to be sad
Yeah,
because the story does not have a great ending. But then I'm feeling so satisfied because this was such a beautiful
it
read.
was such a beautiful read. Exactly. आई एम सो सॉरी, कमेंट्स में थोड़ी देर बाद ही पढ़ूंगा, अपन इस पे रहते हैं, अपने थ्रेड पे रहते हैं. लेट्स नॉट गो टू द कमेंट्स. आई एम सो सॉरी गाइस, वी विल कम टू इट. एंड अगेन एक बार इमेज याद करने की कोशिश करते हैं, ठीक है? सो देयर इज दिस गाय, अब जिसको पता है कि मून ऐसे होने वाला है, उसको एक, वर यू एंटिसिपेटिंग देयर विल बी मल्टीपल नेकेड वुमेन?
Yeah, because it says daughters of the moon. But I was imagining like पांच
हाँ,
होंगी, सात
5
होंगी.
होंगी का.
And then see, I was
हाँ
like, oh shit. And then I imagined a flock of cars with like वो zombie land में आती नहीं है,
हाँ
zombies हर जगह से.
हाँ.
I was imagining women like crazy wild women, but like transfixed or like just hypnotized by the moon, and just sitting there or clinging onto things with
fuck.
no expression in their eyes except like just looking at the moon.
तो आप जो कह रहे हो, अरे यार वो कुछ गिर गया, आप जो कह रहे हो ना, ये वाली चीज़ मेरे को बहुत फैसिनेट करती है. अब ऐसा लग सकता है कि ये मैन राइटिंग वुमेन है, बट अगेन लाइक आई ओवर थिंक अबाउट दैट फ्रेज. इट इज़ नॉट. वो जो पैराग्राफ है ना, वेयर ही इज ट्राइंग टू टॉक टू हर एंड शी इज़ नॉट इंटरेस्टेड, इट वॉज अगेन लाइक द वुमेन इज जस्ट नॉट देयर. तुम बात कर लो उससे. वेयर ही इज आस्किंग इज इट द एंड, एंड शी इज लाइक इट्स द बिगनिंग. लाइक
Yeah, please say.
we had the moon above us, and like, what's happening, can I help you? And she's like, help, with her eyes still staring upwards. I like how he wrote this. अगर ये नहीं भी लिखता तब भी मेरे को पता था कि वो ऊपर ही देख रही है, बट स्टिल मेकिंग इट क्लियर एंड गिविंग द वैलिडेशन टू द इमेजरी आई वाज एनीवे फॉर्मिंग इन माय हेड कि हाँ वो ऊपर देख रही है, उसको शी डजंट गिव अ फक इवन इफ ब्रैड पिट इज सिटिंग नेक्स्ट टू हर, उसको मतलब ही नहीं है. उसका कुछ
Yeah.
अलग ही चल रहा है अभी. And nobody can help, nobody can do anything, and it was clear that she was not talking about herself but about the moon. So she was a part of it. मतलब ऐसे एक इतना strong connection था कि it doesn't matter, nothing matters, and that is why I love things with cosmic elements. It makes you think कि तुम्हारा जो भी चल रहा है भाई, जो भी सब्सक्राइबर चल रहा है, 10,000 चल रहा है, एक कॉस्मिक एलिमेंट ले आओ, and it gives such a mysterious angle to it. But if done right, which is done right by the way in history of arts, like मैं तो मतलब मैं आपको इस पे मतलब 10 ऐसे पिक्चरें बता सकता हूँ, ऐसी कहानियाँ होती हैं. रे ब्रैडबेरी भी कभी कभी करता है, बट रे ब्रैडबेरी इज वेरी डिफरेंट फ्रॉम दिस, एंड आई एम सो हैप्पी आई एम राइटिंग अनदर sci-fi writer who is totally different from रे ब्रैडबेरी.
Ray Bradbury.
तो this was, man.
I actually like Italo Calvino because he brings out the emotions in the
Yes,
smallest of things.
yes,
So he will be talking sci-fi, but there will be certain emotions and certain elements that will probably make you feel, that will probably help you connect with the cosmos better. Like with Ray Bradbury, it is there, it's science, okay? But like with Italo Calvino, you come to care about the moon
yeah.
or the
हाँ,
things.
उसका पर्पस कुछ और है, ब्रैडबेरी जो करने की कोशिश करता है, बट ये जो यहाँ कर रहा है, ही
completely.
अचीव्स इट. एंड यहाँ पे एक
Yeah.
और पैरा है, द मून, मतलब ओ शिट, मेरे को वो जो एक वो वाली जो लाइन थी ना, कॉर्क स्क्रूइंग वाली, वो भी मैं ऐसे था कि आई डिड नॉट वांट टू स्टॉप यू बिकॉज बहुत ज़्यादा तुम भी जोन में थी, बट I always wanted to come back to this para, which is on the next page. The moon seemed lost, having abandoned the course of its orbit. It no longer knew where to go. It let itself be transported like a dried leaf. Holy shit! एक line ऐसे, oh मत कर भाई, मत कर.
I wanted to cry for the moon while reading.
Yeah. Sometimes it appeared to be plummeting towards the earth, at the others corkscrewing in a spiral movement, and others still it just seemed to be drifting. It was losing height, that was certain. For a second it seemed as if it would crash into the Plaza Hotel. Instead, it slid into a corridor between two skyscrapers and disappeared from view towards the Hudson. It reappeared shortly afterwards on the opposite side, popping out behind the cloud, bathing Harlem and the East River in a chalky light, and as though caught by a gust of wind, it rolled towards the Bronx. और इसमें एक वो भी था कि जब इसकी साइकिल्स अजीब हो गई थी आने वाली, आई थिंक कि nobody would have given a fuck अगर जैसे होता है ना कि we say कि sun will rise tomorrow, it's all okay.
Yeah.
Nobody would have given a fuck अगर अगले दिन moon नहीं आता. Nobody. It will be like interesting. It will be like a एक आता है इस पे, और वो भी 3M वाला, उससे भी ज्यादा नहीं. It was like कि हाँ it's not there. Cool. So yeah man, this was so fulfilling. मैं बस पूरे टाइम पढ़ रहा था. I was like shit, why it is so long, हम पढ़ नहीं पाएंगे स्ट्रीम पे. और हम ना ऐसे एपिसोड 1-2 में इतनी लंबी स्टोरीज पढ़ते थे जब ये शो फ्लॉप था, जब हमें पता था कि कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं ले रहा है, हम रिकॉर्ड. हाँ
Yeah, episode 1-2 में we used to record first and then post. कुछ ऐसा भी. Yeah. And
can
now,
I eat
like,
please? मतलब if it is not inappropriate.
Yeah, खाओ, it's okay.
मतलब
it's not all inappropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone commented about reading the If on a Winter's Night a Traveler.
You have
started
read it?
reading No. I started reading it. It's an ebook. So like this is what my process is, right? No, I wouldn't say it right. I say free me. But so I have been trying to pick up like a lot of books at the same time. So I've picked up ebooks, I've picked up Audible, I've picked up audiobooks on Audible. And I've picked up like tangible books as well. So when I'm at home, I read tangible books. When I'm at the office, I pick up ebooks. And one of them is If on a Winter's Night a Traveler. And it's interesting. It's very interesting.
How much have you read? Like कितनी पढ़ी है?
ज़्यादा नहीं करी. I've just started and it's really nice.
There is a beautiful comment in the section with a super chat by Yashodhan Hazare. I'm so sorry if I pronounce your name wrongly. Your channel is can I take a snapshot? Yeah. Your channel is the best thing that happened to me in 2020. Thank you, Vani and Vaibhav. Regards, Yashu. Hey, thank you so much, Yashu. This means a lot. And I am so happy कि हमने मतलब it wasn't an easy read in the sense कि this is not a Miranda July read. मतलब कि हमें पता था कि लोग रहेंगे देखेंगे. इसमें मेरे को पता था कि फक ये परेड वरेड आएगी, लोग कट लेंगे. लोगों को लगेगा कि 2 परेड आ गई, ये चल क्या रहा है स्टोरी में. But oh man, I'm so glad you could also relate to certain things. I love people जिनको sci-fi की ऐसी चीज़ें पसंद है जहाँ पे there's an element which nobody understands, and there was this element in this. Nobody can explain to anyone what was the relation between these Dianas or the daughters with the moon. Like you can have your own assumptions कि how they were related, but if I had to pinpoint, अगर निबंध लिखना हर जना अपने बारे में ऐसे लिखेगा जो एक यूनिक उनका टेक होगा, and I love it. And that is how इसलिए जो मैं जब सुनता था ना, जब आपने कभी रात को ओशन देखा है, हम एक बार कॉलेज की ट्रिप पे ना ड्यू गए थे. इट इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट बोरिंग ट्रिप्स ऑफ आवर कॉलेज लाइफ, बट आई स्टिल थिंक अबाउट ड्यू. जैसे मैं ध्रुव वामन और हम मास्टर, हम 4-5 लोग गए थे. आई डोंट नो इफ एनीवन इज वाचिंग. हम ड्यू गए, हमने देखा फक ड्यू में तो कोई रहता ही नहीं है. और मैं दमन गया होता, बट ड्यू वाज सो इंटरेस्टिंग, इट वाज सो एम्प्टी. तो एक दिन क्या हुआ, हम एक रात को बीच पे गए, देयर वाज नॉट अ सिंगल सोल ऑन द बीच. नाउ बॉम्बे के बीचेस आर गेटिंग फक्ड बिकॉज दे आर पुटिंग टू मेनी लाइट्स देयर, जिससे कि कुछ मतलब उल्टा सीधा ना हो. दैट बीच देयर वाज नो लाइट, बट देयर वाज अ मून देयर, एंड यू कुड सी लाइक जो भी मून की आपको रिफ्लेक्शंस दिख रहे थे, एंड आपको सैंड पे दिख रहा था. मैं एक कॉर्नर में चला गया जहाँ पे बहुत सारी ऐसे चट्टानें थी, सब तुम ऐसे मान लो हम 5 नेकेड डायनास थी, और हर जने को बंदों के ऐसे मोमेंट्स बहुत कम आते हैं जीवन में व्हेन गाइज डोंट वांट टू टॉक टू ईच अदर. ऑल 5 of us were like, guys, can we just shut the fuck up for 1 hour? And for 1 hour हर जना कहीं चला गया. मैं उस चट्टान के पास था, मैं वहां जाके बैठ गया. वहां पे कुछ ऐसे स्नेल्स वगैरह थे, बट ओशन को आप नाइट के साथ जोड़ दो और उसमें एक मून का ऊपर से एक स्वाद अनुसार मसाला डाल दो, दैट इमेजरी, बिकॉज जो मतलब, और ना वही टाइडल वेव्स का जो कनेक्शन है मून के साथ, उस पे जो इटालो कैल्विनो की भी जो इंटरप्रिटेशंस हैं, इन द सेंस कि मतलब वो कुछ भी बोलता है कि पहले ऐसा होता था वगैरह, बट वो इतनी ज़्यादा मतलब समटाइम्स यू आर सोल्ड कि इट इज सो ट्रू. सो आई थिंक अबाउट दैट अ लॉट. कि मतलब when someone asks कि mountains or beaches, obviously it is mountains, but ये जो कुछ कुछ oceans की चीजें ऐसी होती है ना, it's
Yeah.
irreplaceable. It's because it's not static. It's not static. It can still surprise you. Please,
Yeah.
please, क्या
I don't think you can choose between mountains and beaches. Water bodies or mountains. But there's this song by Gregory Alan Isakov, and I
Oh, dude, you
think it's
listen to
called.
him, dude. It's so. Oh,
I love him so much. I'm emotional about him.
I am very emotional about him. मेरे
I
को जैसे ही तुमने
am
बोला उसका
very,
cover art याद आ गया.
I'm very territorial as well. But yeah, ये कैसी है वैभव?
अच्छी है मतलब.
But there's this song by Gregory Alan Isakov. It's I think called That Moon Song, and I loved that song. And like I remember I texted you this is साल की starting में when I was in Bombay, and I was like, hey Vaibhav, I'm in Bombay at the time. So yeah, I got free उस दिन 1 घंटे के लिए, and I just went to the sea and I heard this song. ठीक है, cool.
Wow.
But I love Gregory Ellen Isakov. Like, love it. So there's this song by.
हाँ.
Sorry.
नहीं, please.
There's this song by.
We are like two
Leonard.
Dianas right now. It's okay.
It's so emotional about art.
Yeah,
But there's this song by Leonard Cohen. It's called Two of Us Cannot Be Wrong. And I thought that's like the epitome of writing a lyric. And then, of course, it's beautiful. And I loved that song. And then Gregory Elnasakov came out and he did his own cover of this thing. And I was like, with tears in my eyes, he's so beautiful. But yeah.
Oh my God.
I am very emotional about Gregory Elnasakov. But yeah.
So, talking about the things we are emotional about, let's stay on the same trajectory. Because coming back to मतलब जो आपने बताया मतलब और वही है मतलब जो आपके लिए वो सॉन्ग करता है. व्हेन आई वाज रीडिंग दिस आई वाज प्लेइंग एरिक सेटी का वो जो जिम्नो, मेरे को प्रोनाउंस करना नहीं आता यार, वो जिम्नोपोसाइड जो भी होता है वो जो भी एलियन जैसा नाम है, दैट इज द मोस्ट ब्यूटिफुल सॉन्ग एवर मेड इन द हिस्ट्री ऑफ यूनिवर्स. मेरे को लगता है मैं बजा देता हूँ एंड everything is 10% better. Everything is like, okay, this will pass. And suddenly I think about like cosmic elements. Suddenly I think about all those things. मतलब ऐसे थोड़ा you feel कि okay, it's okay to drift apart and और आपको कोई जज नहीं करेगा, like provided you play the right track. मतलब if I play पंगा by दिलजीत then it can also work, but not when मैंने आज पंगा सुन रहा था उससे पहले मैं दिलजीत का, because what he did to कंगना, yes. but we will come to कंगना, वो आज हमारा लास्ट वो है, मतलब वो तो करना ही करना है.
She's from Himachal.
Yeah. तो हाँ वो ये क्या बोल रहे हैं लोग.
Vaibhav, you look good, bro, while eating. Keep eating. Sorry. I am not sure if it's sarcasm or like
It's
like people
definitely
because you've
sarcasm.
been getting
बहुत आजकल लोग लेते हैं मेरे मजे लेते हैं. वानी फिर मेरे को स्नैपशॉट भेजती है जब अगर ऐसे कुछ होता है. आई एम कमेंटिंग दैट लाइक आई एम फीलिंग थ्रेटेंड. बट नहीं हम फनी बातें तो हमेशा ही करते हैं ना. लेट्स कम बैक टू दिस एक बार के लिए.
Yeah, what are you passionate about?
नो वो भी नहीं, वो भी बहुत वो है. अभी हमने 4-5 एलिमेंट्स पकड़े हुए हैं. लेट्स स्टिक टू दैट लाइक वहां पे कुछ निकलेगा. Is there a planet which makes you like, I want to know more about this planet? ऐसे
When I was growing up, it was Saturn. Now it's just Earth.
for me,
I don't think I think about it anymore. But when I was growing up, I wanted to know what goes around on Uranus and Saturn.
for me it's Neptune, and especially after watching Ad Astra I can never get those. It's so blue, और जितना beautiful blue उसमें दिखाया था ना नेपट्यून को. और मैं नेपट्यून को बाय द वे नेपच्यून बुलाता था, तभी हमने 4 बार करेक्ट कराया था. तो तो नेपट्यून फॉर मी इट इज नेपट्यून, जो मेरे को लगता है कि जिसको लेके आई एम टू कि thinking
Passion.
नहीं मतलब in the sense कि thinking about what if this event was happening on Neptune, if I'm having a breakup, because basically एक father और एक son का separation दिखा है Neptune के पास Ad Astra में, where they are saying their final goodbyes, पीछे Neptune है, and I am like holy shit, this मतलब मैं सोचता हूँ कभी कभी बस एक बेंच लगा दो वेयर इन द बैकग्राउंड यू कैन सी नेपट्यून. ये सारे यार मेरे ब्लॉग के आइडियाज है, मैं इतना इजीली ऐसे बांट रहा हूँ लो तो कि लेट्स जस्ट पुट अ बेंच आउटसाइड ऑफ नेपट्यून एंड इमेजिन एवरी गुड इवेंट ऑफ योर लाइफ हैपनिंग देयर विद अगेन नेपट्यून इन द बैकग्राउंड, और आप वो इमेजिन कर रहे हो. मेरे को तो लगता है कि इट मेक्स एवरीथिंग.
I'm gonna share screenshot like my screen and send it to you on WhatsApp.
मैं व्हाट्सएप कैसे खोलूंगा अभी? आप स्क्रीन शेयर करो ना.
That will be a little
टू
बहुत सारी चीजें,
हाँ
but I don't know. I can't even share it on the chat, right?
आप कर सकते हो बट क्या भेज रहे हो पहले मेरे को बताओ ना, थोड़ा सा हिंट तो दो. अपनी वो
It's my
क्रिप्टिक
wall.
लैंग्वेज में बोलो. हाँ,
It's my wallpaper of the desktop, but
वो
like
तो
there are so
बिफोर
many
वाला
things.
होता था ना. वो तो आप सब
Oh, I
मिनिमाइज कर दो, आप दिखा दो यार, मैं सब मिनिमाइज कर दो.
I'll have to delete the documents on my
अरे
desktop actually.
अच्छा तो रुको. आपने
Sad
मेरे को
life.
आपने मेरे को व्हाट्सएप पे भेजा क्या?
Yes, it's there. So I wanted something bright for my life. I don't know why. So I wanted something that's yellow, but I did not even want it to be too bright because that's not me.
या
Wow, hashtag. I don't know. But yeah, so I did this
वन सेकेंड ना.
because
जस्ट
it's not too yellow, but it's not too black as well. It's not too bright as well.
यार मेरा ये वीडियो फुल फ्रेम क्यों नहीं हुआ? आई एम जस्ट लाइक हम क्या आर वी स्टिल लाइव?
I think so. I think
Yeah.
so. I think we're
मैं
still
मेरी
live.
स्क्रीन नहीं शेयर कर पा रहा. वीडियो फुल फ्रेम क्यों नहीं हो रहा? अच्छा क्योंकि वो आर्ट. हाँ ओके, नाउ वीडियो इज फुल फ्रेम. ओके लेट मी ओपन व्हाट यू जस्ट सेंड. ओ फक
I hope मुझे copyright का issue नहीं आएगा because I just downloaded it from. It was like HD wallpapers because I'm so smart.
मेन स्ट्रीम पे वापस जाते हैं एंड आई विल शेयर माय स्क्रीन गाइस. और मैं ऐसा मैं ये दिस रिमाइंड्स मी ऑफ अकीरा कुसाका जिसके मैं सुबह शाम रीट्वीट करता. ओली शिट,
I love this. It's so beautiful.
मम्मा.
Can't even.
This image has everything that which makes me excited about being alive.
Life?
हाँ.
Yeah. I can stare at this image for like as long as
This image
you
has
want me to.
everything. This image has everything. हाँ मेरे को पता है फुल स्क्रीन हो गया. हाँ okay. Let's talk about the things we love about this image. पहले you go first.
So much pressure. I love the left corner में, like bottom left, you see the leaves, yellow leaves flying by, like थोड़े से गिर रहे हैं या कुछ हो रहे हैं. And I love those.
I
It's
love
not bottom, like middle से थोड़ा सा.
I love how it is probably. ऐसा लग रहा है कि मतलब मैं इसको ऐसे इमेजिन कर रहा हूँ कि इट्स द डेड एंड ऑफ द प्लैनेट. मतलब अगर आप उस गेट के उस साइड स्टेप करोगे तो बेसिकली यू विल फॉल और मे बी यू विल ड्रिफ्ट अवे और समथिंग. मतलब ऐसे नहीं लग रहा कि आगे जाओगे तो ऐसे बहुत सारा येलोनेस और है. इट्स द डेड एंड फॉर मी. And obviously what's working for me is it's night, definitely the night. We are not talking about the guys like कि मैं हवा में कोई मेरी बात से करो. We are like bro, we don't give a fuck about you.
So I grew up in Kulu, right? तो वहाँ पे autumn is kind of sort of pretty if it doesn't rain. And like so मेरे backyard में there used to be this walnuts का पेड़ एक. And so uske leaves when they used to get like autumn time they used to get orange and then yellow and they would fly by like this and hawa chalti thi so the scene used to be like aise wo leaves used to show up and that was pretty, so that reminds me.
Nice. And I love how there is a moon in it, which
yeah, it's almost at the center.
Yeah. फक यार, ये कब से आपका वॉलपेपर? बिकॉज आई रिमेम्बर कोई और होता था ये, मतलब एंड वेयर डिड यू
It
फाइंड इट?
used to be like before sunrise cover, but then I changed it. I even changed my phone ka wallpaper. It's Christmas themed now.
अरे काफी एनर्जी ब्रो.
काफी ज़्यादा. I was like, shit, why? So
देन यू
like
कांट
it's
बी
already
टेरिटोरियल अबाउट द बिफोर सनराइज का, जैसा आज आप दिन में कह रहे थे ना. आई